We all know that Bitcoin's market cap represents like over 50% of the total cryptocurrency market cap. But the stats shows that in terms of TVL, only 1% of Bitcoin is of all chains TVL is actually Bitcoin. It's significantly lower than that of Ethereum's TVL and also probably other smaller assets. But we see ourselves as a channel to open up the native Bitcoins to various on-chain and various yield options.
Welcome to the Edge Podcast. I'm DeFi Dad here with Nomadic from 4RC. Today's show spotlights a new Omnichain tokenized Bitcoin called FBTC. In this episode, we cover an ambitious new project to unlock over $1 trillion in liquidity with a better tokenized Bitcoin that can scale to hundreds of millions in liquidity to be used across DeFi on L2s and new L1s. But before we do, just a quick word from our sponsors who make the Edge podcast possible. Power up your portfolio by borrowing, lending, and multiplying your favorite assets, made safe and easy by the industry-leading automation tools at SUMMER.FI. SUMMER.FI offers a curated DeFi experience to access the highest quality protocols and strategies. Discover new earn strategies for your portfolio in a user-friendly app designed to filter based on the tokens you hold, the networks you transact on, the protocols you trust, and the highest available yields. Learn more today at SUMMER.FI, the best place to borrow and earn in DeFi. Tired of hopping between tabs, searching for new tokens before the hype catches on? Try MATCHA.XYZ, the DEX aggregator from 0x. Matcha connects hundreds of DEXs so you can trade millions of tokens and find fresh new drops. Matcha works out the best route to save you money on every trade. Swaps are free and Matcha has everything you need to trade on-chain. Gasless swaps, limit orders, and cross-chain, all in one place. Search Trade Done at MATCHA.XYZ. Introducing Flat Money, the first decentralized, delta-neutral flat coin built on Base with sustainable yield that's completely untethered from legacy finance. Because DeFi needs an uncensorable based unit of currency. You can mint unit with RETH, which is held in the protocol's shared liquidity pool, where it's borrowed by leveraged traders. As a leveraged trader, you can deposit your margin collateral and go long on RETH. If you're trading in the perpetual futures market, you'll pay unit holders to open leverage positions. If you're holding unit, you'll earn yield from liquidations, borrow rate, and trading fees. Preserve your purchasing power and offset your exposure to crypto market volatility. Learn more at flat.money. Catch the tide of the mainnet launch of Puffer Finance. Whether you're an Ethereum staker or an aspiring node operator, Puffer delivers the decentralization revolution with its cutting-edge technology. Start with just 2 ETH to unlock the potential of native liquid restaking and maximize your earnings. Join the movement now and anchor your stake at puffer.fi. All right, let's introduce Zuki, a core contributor to the Ignition team behind FBTC. Zuki, welcome to the Edge Podcast. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm very pleased to be on the podcast to introduce you guys more about the Bitcoin ecosystem, the Ignition, and also FBTC.
Today's podcast is about a major market opportunity for a better tokenized version of Bitcoin. I think one that can be more liquid and live across all of the different L2s and all the different modular networks that are being built. So if you consider just how much liquidity is in Bitcoin and how much of that could be unlocked and used as liquidity in DeFi, that's the opportunity here. And so if you're familiar with WBTC, we're going to talk about an alternative version of that called FBTC that's being pioneered and built by contributors from Mantle, but also being supported by a new team known as Ignition. So Zuki, could you just share a bit more about like your background, the team's background, and then we can get right into, what it is you're aiming to build with FBTC?
Yes. Yeah, I think the lines of introduction is just perfect. We all know that Bitcoin's market cap represents like over 50% of the total cryptocurrency market cap. But the stats shows that in terms of TVL, only 1% of Bitcoin is of all chains TVL is actually Bitcoin. It's significantly lower than that of Ethereum's TVL and also probably other smaller assets. So me, myself, I graduate from Berkeley. As you know, there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs from Berkeley in the crypto space. And so I've learned about Bitcoin since college years. And then I joined in traditional finance and venture capital, and finally joined the space in 2021. Although I'm not very OG in the space, but I do know about Bitcoin, do know about a lot of interesting people building around blockchain and Bitcoin ecosystem. Later, after I joined crypto space, I joined Mantle as the head of infrastructure. And later, because of my background, I started to lead the APAC ecosystem growth at Mantle. And Bitcoin becomes a focus of the APAC region starting last year, I think, because of in history, a lot of Bitcoin miners are from Asia. And although a lot of the miners are moving to the US, moving to the Western, but there is still a lot of economic power, I would say, in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And a lot of builders are also looking to grow something different in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And here we think this time will be the perfect timing for growing the space to the next level, and also to introduce a newer and better version of Omnichain Bitcoin. One simple introduction about Ignition is that we are dedicated to liberating the gross power of Bitcoin, allowing it to strive across all blockchains. As introduced, Mantle and Alpha Prime, who is backed by Bitmain, the largest Bitcoin miner machine manufacturer company, are the core contributors of Ignition and FBTC. We welcome in the future more core contributors and various contributors to in our community. But right now, Mantle represent the growth experience on chain, and Alpha represents the TVL side, the Bitcoin value or asset management side in the space. And we work together to bring a lower friction and more interoperable future for Bitcoin assets. So FBTC is the core initiative that we introduced. It is an omni-chain Bitcoin asset packed one-to-one to BTC. It aims to elevating Bitcoin's accessibility and utility. As you see that there's a lot of various Bitcoin assets in the space already, like WBTC, TBTC, RAMBTC, etc. And there are newer those Bitcoin with yields such as SoftBTC, LBTC, UniBTC, etc. We will always remain one-to-one packed, but we see ourselves as a channel to open up the native Bitcoin's way to various on-chain and various yield options.
Zuki, so it sounds like this will be competing with something like a WBTC. Kind of curious to get your take on why you think we need another wrapped version of BTC. And I guess what's kind of there for the taking? What opportunity do you see?
Thank you for the question. I think although there are a lot of different versions of Bitcoin assets in the space, but I think there are still some problems such as centralized wrapping, single-party control, security vulnerabilities, and most importantly, liquidity and use cases. So we see in both on-chain and on central exchanges, the current either WBTC or other Bitcoin assets are still having very low liquidity. That is not very good for people who want to trade, hold, or utilize it in all DeFi use cases. And secondly, there are a lot of new, especially Bitcoin-based yield options out there, like the CDFI strategies, like the upcoming Babylon yield from POS chains, and also a lot of the DeFi innovations in multiple chains. But the current assets are not working hard enough to integrate or to work with them as a channel for people to bring the Bitcoin value to those ecosystems.
Zuki, in terms of making improvements upon these existing forms of tokenized Bitcoin, when we think about some of the UI UX issues with wrapped Bitcoin, I guess how is the team approaching making improvements to like cross-chain interoperability. How are you thinking about this, to grow liquidity on L2s, given that I think a lot of the WBTC liquidity still lives on Ethereum mainnet?
Yes. So FBTC works in a CCTP kind of model where we can natively mint and burn in selective chains, which means if we are launching FBTC on certain chains, there's no need for third-party liquidity bridges to bring assets here and there. And secondly, the way we choose our partners is very important. We are ensure that we are choosing the best use strategies on the best chains with the highest potential for yield for users, both in terms of the points or chain token, and also in terms of those their actual use strategies.
Zuki, I'm curious kind of like about decentralization and how something like FBTC will maintain some form of decentralization. And I actually don't know if there's going to be like a governing token that will govern FBTC. Maybe you can share some insights on that.
Yes, I think one of the exciting parts about FBTC is that we will have a governance token that is to reward all users who are holding and also trading FBTC. And the governance token will also be used to decide where the directions that we are going, the use cases we're having, also the ecosystem reward for our partners. In terms of the UI UX, we will be as simple as possible as a one-to-one wrapped Bitcoin asset on Omnichains. However, we introduce several mechanisms to help our partners to fully utilize the Bitcoin value they obtain from users. We introduced the lock BTC function where when users choose to lock FBTC for certain partners' use strategies, we were able to transfer the underlying native asset and move it to a partner's vault that is under a co-managed nature. And that way we ensure that all different vaults are managed by different partners and to ensure its decentralization. At the same time, we create a mechanism to make sure that it's always secured and always perfectly accounted to make sure it's always one-to-one packed in different vaults.
Zuki, speaking to the redeemability then of FBTC, can you just dumb down for us, like, how do you maintain this one-to-one peg? I feel like you started to give some of the context behind this, but like, how can we be certain as users that FBTC will hold this one-to-one peg?
That's actually there's a very simple answer. We will have a very transparent dashboard on our website showing that the number of Bitcoin assets on our vault will always equal to the number of on-chain FBTC. So we also have a lot of different decentralized pools to make sure to let the market decide that we actually will be one-to-one packed.
Just to go back on one thing you mentioned, Zuki, about mint and burn. When we're creating net new FBTC, let's say it's on Ethereum mainnet, for example, can you just clarify, can we as users permissionlessly create FBTC, or do we rely upon like partners of FBTC and Ignition to be creating that, to be locking up Bitcoin and creating this one-to-one peg with Bitcoin?
Right. So one thing to clarify here is only the qualified users, including institutions and merchants who meet specific requirements and complete the KYC, KYB procedures, are able to mint and burn FBTC. To ensure secure custody, we now choose Kobo as our initial custodian, managing users' BTC asset across using MPC, which is multi-party computation addresses. Additionally, Ignition has established a security console to oversee these custodian operations. Mental and Alpha, Kobo, and also will onboard future custodians as the member of the security console. So that ensures the security and also the management of our BTC vault that matches the number of on-chain FBTCs that we have. If you want to join FBTC as a qualified user, you can apply on our website. And one confusion that retail users may always get is minting and burning is not for retail users. However, they can still wrap or buy BTC from various sources through both on-chain and on central exchange. Just like retail users cannot like mint USDT or USDC themselves, right? But they can purchase from various channels, and those channels will have very deep liquidity for them to purchase any amount of asset that they want. So there are various channels that will open up on both Ethereum and Mantle when it goes live. One thing is Uniswap, another is Merchant Mall on Mantle, and there's also Bybit Exchange and also several other exchanges will onboard FBTC for retail users to purchase it.
One last follow-up there, Zuki. So if I'm a user in the future, I'm holding FBTC, let's say, on Ethereum mainnet, and I want to move that over to Mantle, will I bridge it, or is it better to think about it as like the minting and burning? I know you called out that like only qualified folks will be able to do that have like KYC'd, but just to clarify that simple use case of me like wanting to migrate liquidity from like ETH mainnet to Mantle because I want to put it into like init capital and put it to use.
Yes, we will have an official bridge on our website. If you have FBTC on Ethereum, you can easily migrate it to Mantle or in the future any chain that we natively support. It will be very seamless and fast and easy to use.
Teller is a decentralized protocol that enables anyone to borrow or lend using any Ethereum asset. You can think of a Teller loan as a DeFi cash advance, one where you can use any of your favorite ERC20 tokens as collateral to get an instant USDC loan. Discover the power of a DeFi cash advance today at teller.org.
At Moonbeam, we're building a world where the wonders of decentralized technology are accessible to everyone. We're advancing Web3 integration through product enhancements, funding for innovation, and investment in our partner ecosystem. Our product roadmap includes ZK initiatives, tokenomics updates, and 8x throughput. Our $10 million innovation fund invests in startups that deliver cutting-edge solutions for RWAs and Web3 gaming, and our partner ecosystem continues to grow through grants and incentives. Moonbeams is delivering frictionless user and builder experiences to create the future of the internet on-chain. Join us by participating in the Moonrise campaign today.
Zuki, maybe we can talk about some of these partnerships that you'll have with FBTC. For me, like, I see this as like a pretty big cold start problem. You're bringing something totally net new into the ecosystem. So yeah, just kind of curious, like your strategy to roll something like this out. And I know you mentioned Babylon earlier. I think one of us mentioned Solve, but yeah, like what's like the underlying strategy to kind of get this out to the ecosystem?
Yes, I think our strategy is simple to source all possible yield for Bitcoin holders and to work with the best ones. So if any of the audience here does not know about Babylon, Babylon is a Bitcoin staking protocol. It allows Bitcoin holders to earn yield from their idle Bitcoins in a secure way, which is no third party trust, and no Bitcoin bridging to any other chain. But you can lock your Bitcoin in a self-custodied way to gain rights to validate other POS chains and earn yields as a return. It's fully flashable, and it's guaranteed. The flashability is a guarantee for any type of POS chain. So there are a lot of projects working around the Babylon ecosystem as they're either LST or AVS, such as Lombard, Lorenzo, Bedrock, P-Stake, Solve, you name, and there's a lot of new projects coming up. We will be the first one to get to know about those projects. And because of our nature of the locked FBTC I just mentioned, we're able to allow them to fully utilize the underlying Bitcoin in our vault in order to put it into the Babylon ecosystem. So as a result, they can only work with us in compare with like WBTC or other version of BTC in order to actually provide the Babylon ecosystem yield for their holders. So in practice, user will need to have FBTC first and then lock the FBTC on those protocols in order to gain the receipt tokens such as LBTC or UniBTC or Pump BTC, etc., in order to gain the Babylon ecosystem yield. And the Babylon ecosystem is only the one yield option that we will have for FBTC users. The other ones include the CDFI yield, such as Ecina, Bonsbit, also Solve, USDX. They are putting the underlying Bitcoin or the leveraged value of Bitcoin into the central exchange to conduct funding arbitrage strategies to provide users for the yield. And also there's on-chain DeFi, where we often see in multi-chains where you can provide LP in order to take the LP profits, also in both in DEXs and lending. And also we will be working with multi-chain ecosystem, for example, especially the newer ecosystems such as B-Square, Bob, Corn, Mezzo, and Monad, Barachain. All the names you can think of that you think is worth exploring, we'll be working with them, and we're providing multiple layers of incentives for FBTC users.
You basically answered my next question. I was kind of curious your kind of incentive plan, but is there anything else as far as like incentives that should be on users' radar, like maybe like important timelines that they should pay attention to? I know that's kind of typically the alpha that people want to hear.
Yes, in terms of timeline, actually FBTC will launch on Ethereum and Mantle this week, July the 11th. Which means users will be able to purchase FBTC on multiple channels that I mentioned above. We will not have our own point ecosystem since launch because we have all those excellent partners we have, and they all have very, very attractive campaigns, attractive user point system to help boost the user base or TVL of FBTC. We will enjoy a period of natural growth by all these projects because we are providing them a very good channel for them to attract BTC values. However, after a period of testing, we will run ecosystem campaigns with chain, with DeFi projects, with Quest platforms, etc., to have a large-scale ecosystem campaign for users to enjoy different layers of incentive, including FBTC points itself and chain ecosystem incentive, DeFi projects incentive, and also the yield that they're providing for Bitcoin holders.
Zuki, I think this is a great place for us to start to wrap up. So I want to remind our listeners that they can learn more at FBTC.com. They should follow FBTC_official. That's the Twitter handle for FBTC and Ignition. They should also follow your personal handle at @LittleZuki. All of that's in our show notes there, so you can easily reference it. Thank you so much for coming on, Zuki. I don't want to downplay the fact that I'm just excited for what an enormous opportunity this is to build FBTC. I don't envy it because I think it's going to be very challenging to build the kind of liquidity that we would like to see compete with the likes of, let's say, WBTC. But there's a demand for it. I know it firsthand as a user. I've really been frustrated with the lack of Bitcoin liquidity on new L2s like Mantle and Mode and Optimism and Arbitrum. So if you can solve for that, it's a huge unlock for all of us as DeFi users. Could you close us out with any last call to action? How can we get involved with FBTC if we wanted to look up protocols that we could potentially farm with FBTC? Where would we go?
Yes, we hope the launch of Ignition and FBTC will empower users to effortlessly engage with the expanding Bitcoin ecosystem and utilize their idle BTC in a variety of on-chain use strategies. We will launch our ecosystem page on our website FBTC.com, and we will list all the yield strategies, all the yield pairs FBTC will be working with, so that users will know where their FBTC can go and for what kind of yield that they will want to have. And thank you again for having me here. We look forward to work with you again when FBTC has reached some new milestones. And just stay tuned on FBTC Twitter and various news channels. We'll always be there and announcing new exciting campaigns, initiatives that bring to the ecosystem.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're a talented founder or developer, please consider reaching out to our team at fourthrevolution.capital. And for future episodes of the Edge podcast, please check out our link tree at edge_pod.